All right, let's get right to it, guys. We got a lot to get to here the after hours here as we wait for the closing bells. Carol, it's been quite a day here on Wall Street.
Yeah, very interesting, right? We're just kind of coming off our best levels of the session, but I've been thinking about a name like Alphabet that reports after the closing one, obviously a key focal point for us. This one's been up as much as 2% in today's session, just kind of pulling off of that, but still a 1.8% gain ahead of its results. We'll see whether or not it delivers.
I have a question, Tim. If that's the palace, who's the ruler? You were Carol.
We're a democracy.
It's co-crowns.
Yeah, we're a democracy.
We're co-crowning.
That's not a thing, but okay.
It is now.
You mentioned shares of Alphabet. Helping to push the NASDAQ composite. I know we really care about the NASDAQ 100, but the NASDAQ composite poised to close at a record today. Scarlett.
Yeah, so we'll watch for that. And of course, Alphabet will kind of set the tone for the rest of the Mag 7 names that will be reporting this week. The other thing, of course, is the action in the bond market, which has been kind of wackadoo. Every email I've been getting, the commentaries all have to do with what is driving bond yields higher and the long laundry list of things.
Yeah, Neil Dudd is saying maybe, it's not necessarily the Trump trade, but maybe it's like some of the strong economic news that we continue to have.
Yeah, I think that is a big driver of it here. And I think wackadoo is sort of normal. We haven't gotten the latest move numbers here for volatility for the day, but based on yesterday here, you're seeing a huge spike as we head into that election. 7 days away and just a few minutes away from some big earnings, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average lower by about 150 points, or roughly 0.4%. The S&P higher by about 0.2%. The NASDAQ Composite up about 0.8%, 18,712 and change. That is a record high. The NASDAQ 100 coming just within 0.5% of a record high, while the Russell 2000 is going to close out the day in the red, down 0.3%.
All right, guys, already have some earnings from Caesars crossing the Bloomberg terminal. Let's get to it. Third quarter loss, 4 cents a share. Same store net revenue, $2.87 billion. That's a miss. Street looking for $2.93 billion. Third quarter net revenue, $2.9 billion. And third quarter same store adjusted EBITDA. Let's go to that number, $1 billion versus an estimate of $1 billion. Interesting, the stock not doing anything right now in the aftermarket.
The company's CEO touting the record third quarter hotel, food and beverage, and banquet revenues driven by strong occupancy and cash ADRs. Regional segment operating results were negatively impacted by new competition, construction disruption, and difficult comparisons versus the prior year.
All right. It's certainly interesting, especially construction disruption. I mean, that's kind of a constant thing, isn't it? Let's get to just what happened in the day that ended in terms of trading, because as we wait for Alphabet results, it's notable that the two sectors are represented in the NASDAQ composite did very well. Communication services and tech each gaining more than 1%. Everything else was in the red, with utilities down 2% and energy stocks off by 1.4%.
All right, everybody. Let's get to some of the individual gainers, if we may. And I mentioned that one thing I've just been watching throughout the day ahead of Alphabet's earnings is Alphabet. And you do see that one gaining about 1.8% here in today's session. So we'll have their results shortly. The stock, we've been writing about it, not really going anywhere for months, trailing some of the Mag 7 peers. There's a bunch of risks overhang. So we'll see how much clarity we get on that a little bit later on.
All right, we're going to keep the earnings going here. First solar results crossing the wire right now. On the bottom line, EPS $2.91 a share. That is a miss. The street was looking for $3.12 a share. I'm going to get you right to the operating income, $322 million. And net sales in the quarter also missing here, coming in at about $900 million. The street was looking for $1.1 billion. The share is slightly lower here in the after hours trade as Alphabet now crosses the wire.
Yeah, third quarter EPS $2.12. Analysts were looking for $1.84. YouTube ad revenue was $8.92 billion, better than expected. Google Cloud revenue, $11.35 billion, much better than expected. That was anticipated to be $10.8 billion. And revenue also beating analyst estimates overall, with the ad revenue at $65.8 billion. Analysts were looking for $65.5 billion. Carol, as you mentioned, this is a stock that had not gone really anywhere for the last couple of weeks. And since the last earnings, it's down about 8%. So a lot of people saying it was a fairly low bar for earnings. And this beat here shows that the stock is moving up about 5% right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Low bar. Expectations were low. Alphabet third quarter revenue ex-tax, $74.55 billion. The estimate was $72.88 billion. So you're talking about almost $2 billion more. EPS $2.12 a share. Estimate was $1.84. Operating margin 32%. That too is a beat. The estimate was 31.4%. CapEx, we're going to want to know where they are spending that AI spend. 13.06 billion, guys, and that is above the estimate of 12.88 billion.
Sundar Pichai saying the momentum across the company is extraordinary. Our commitment to innovation as well as our long-term focus and investment in AI are paying off with consumers and partners benefiting from our AI tools. Talking about how AI features expand what people can do in search. AI solutions expand what people can do in cloud. And then when it comes to YouTube's total ads and subscription revenues, touting the fact that it surpassed $50 billion over the past 4 quarters for the first time.
Yeah, and just taking a look at the expenses, because of course a lot of people are looking at sort of how you get these AI dreams without completely blowing the bank, relatively in line with estimates here, and of course standing by that CapEx spend longer term here. At least I think some people would find that an encouraging signal.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we've talked about, right, the importance of all of these big tech companies that are reporting this week, Alphabet included, you know, get to Microsoft, get to Amazon, get to Meta, right? They have been so crucial in terms of the NVIDIA AI spend. We've talked about that here. And so the clarity or any kind of color that we get on that is really important to get an idea of this AI trade. Is it overdone? What are the expectations? What does it mean for NVIDIA when it reports later next month? So this is interesting, but I should go back and something you said, Scarlet, is that this whole idea that the bar was low for Alphabet, a lot of overhang, and it hasn't been doing as well as some of its peers. So, you know, beats to the upside. Investors are going to like that.
I just going through these numbers one more time. It was a beat when it came to advertising revenue, 65.85 billion. YouTube ads revenue coming in above estimates. Google Cloud revenue coming in above estimates at $11.35 billion. Services revenue coming in above estimates at $76.5 billion. Shares higher by 2.8%.
All right, and I'm just going to jump in here with one more earnings report. Mondelez reporting third quarter adjusted EPS of 63 cents. Excuse me, that headline number is 63 cents. Adjusted, it was 99 cents, beating analyst estimates. Gross margin for the period was 40.5%, much better than what was anticipated. Net revenue, $9.2 billion, also topping analyst estimates. That stock moving up about 2% in after-hours trading as it sees full-year organic net revenue at the high end of 3 to 5%.
Let's go back to the tech space here. Qorvo, of course, which makes a lot of semiconductor components, out with their results here. A beat on the bottom line and a beat on the top line. But the shares, if you take a look, now down more than 14% here in the after-hours trade. The company not providing guidance here, so not quite clear why we're seeing that knee-jerk reaction. But overall, we're still talking about top-line growth and results that beat estimates on the top and the bottom line. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into that and get you some answers. Tim.
Okay, Qorvo shares down 14.4%, as you mentioned. I'm taking a look at DaVita Healthcare. Shares down 1.5%. The company coming in with third quarter adjusted earnings per share that fell short of analyst estimates at $2.59. Third quarter total revenue, though, the top line, it did beat there at $3.26 billion. Estimates were for $3.24 billion. Shares down right now by 2.7%.
All right, guys, we've got Electronic Arts also crossing the Bloomberg terminal. Taking a look at the forward-looking quarter, the company sees third quarter EPS 85 cents. That looks like a big loss. Or 85 cents to $1.02 a share. I'm just looking for the comp here. It also sees third quarter net bookings 2.4 to 2.55 billion. The estimate on the street is 2.49 billion. Sees fiscal year operating cash flow of 2.08 billion to 2.28 billion. And we've got the estimate 2.12. Right now we've got that stock unchanged, Scarlet, in the after hours.
All right. We're also taking a look at Visa, which just came out with numbers. EPS, whether it's a headline number or adjusted, both beating analyst estimates. And the total Visa processed transactions, $61.5 billion. That is actually bang in line with what analysts had been looking for. Fourth quarter cross-border volumes also at constant currency up 13% in the quarter, slightly better than what analysts were looking for, which was 12.3%.
All right, let's take a quick look at NerdWallet. This is basically the personal finance company. We don't talk a whole lot about them. The top and bottom line numbers coming in slightly above estimates, $191 million in revenue, beating street estimates of $170 million. The bottom line numbers basically coming in unchanged here. The street was actually looking for a loss, so that's better than anticipated. We're also learning that the CFO, Lauren St. Clair, plans to resign as well, though she had been there for some time. She'll be leaving on March 7th. sent shares higher by 6%. Tim.
Okay, speaking of shares moving higher, Reddit shares are surging up more than 15% in after-hours trading. The company coming out with fourth quarter revenue expected to be $385 million to, or fourth quarter revenue expected to be $385 million to $400 million, beating estimates of $356.2 million. Third quarter U.S. ARPU coming in at $5.88. Third quarter daily active users coming in at 48.2 million. Shares just continuing to rocket higher, up 18% as we speak.
All right, guys, and let's go back to how we started, right? The big one in the aftermarket, and that is shares of Alphabet. You got that stock up more than 3% here in the aftermarket. Some of the highlights, third quarter revenue, ex-tax, $70.55 billion. That is an easy beat. $72.88 billion was the street estimate. And third quarter Google Cloud revenue, also a big beat, $11.35 billion versus the estimate of $10.79 billion. So again, that stock up 3.4% here in the aftermarket. A lot of earnings. So we're both going to continue covering on both the TV and the radio side and the YouTube side. So guys, that is a wrap. Our cross-platform on this busy earnings Tuesday. Radio, TV, YouTube, Bloomberg Originals. We will see you again. Same time, same place tomorrow for the closing bell.